Hello, welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like, because we're in person number 4. That's twice in a row this time. And I was realizing that last time in our excitement where we both said Dr. Ray, I forgot to say the part about take a seat, which is funny. I didn't even notice. We got through the whole episode without noticing that. So here we are. Today we said check in.
Yeah.
So thank you for checking in and taking a seat. For this week's session,
Mm-hmm.
which we're also going to pivot for, because we're going to talk, instead of doing awards, we're going to do a little bit of like a thematic topic, a qualitative analysis of two very like large area topics that have a lot of little tendrils to them that we'll talk about. So we're basically going to center it around the 2 challenges that have happened since we last spoke. One is the heart rate challenge, and the other is the like airing dirty laundry challenge with the mailbox. So we'll do like a little bit of a recap of both those challenges as we go. We'll talk about the debates that are happening at large and so forth. So first, I want to just say before we check in that we're therapists. We're not your therapists. We're not the therapists of the folks we're talking about either. We actually have never met them. We can't really diagnose them. We might talk about diagnoses just like casually, but we can't do that without formally assessing them. So we're just talking about mental health themes related to these folks and the things we see on the TV, which means they're very much affected by producers. Really, we're talking about their mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's what they tell us about
And how feminist they are.
Yeah, exactly. Lack thereof. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we also like to talk about producer antics, so you might hear some of that. But first, tell me what is on your heart and mind today, dear Dr. Ray.
Ooh, let's see. I'm so excited that this was kind of like this worked out by chance that we can be in person again. And it's really fun. I would say that's what's on my mind and heart. I'm happy to be in person with you again, my dear.
I love that. You're so right. It just happened to be twice in a row. And first at my place, now at your place. It's kind of fun. It's like, doing a little bit of a like traveling show. It's a circus. It is a little circus. Like,
I'll take it.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of
Psychologist
circus peeps around here.
Are there? That's cool. Oh yeah, because there's like circus and then there's like bread and puppet can be considered a circus, I guess, a little bit. Yeah, it's like for gripping and stuff, I guess. Anyway, there's fun things to be had. Yeah, no, that's true. I also was talking today about how there's like this subculture related to people that do skydiving and so forth, like that like move around and do the like they like go work at different skydiving sites. And I refer to them as sort of like the circus people of today. You could like run away and join the circus, run away and join the folks of that culture.
I think some of our students do that.
A circle.
They're very into skydiving too, in particular.
I know of one I just heard about today. That's very cool. And I bet it's one that you know about as well.
Little probably I can even think about who it would be.
Based on the time today. Yeah, I just exactly. And that conversation. Very cool. So that's my full circle moment on the circus conversation.
Well, what's on your mind and heart today? But
circuses. Circus traveling circuses. Yeah, similarly. And also, I would say getting to be here with you in person another time, which is fun. We talked about today maybe doing like a monthly in-person session, which really makes me happy as well. So that'll now be on my heart and mind with excitement.
Like anticipatory excitement.
Exactly. Yeah. Not anxiety. Anticipatory excitement.
That's right.
I like it.
We men are much better about thinking that what could be construed as anxiety is excitement.
Oh.
I feel
like that can make sense. You know why I bet that is? Because we're so concerned with relationships as women that like a lot of what happens in the world that is anxiety provoking for us is relational. And so for men who don't care as much about that, they just care about the like doing the thing. That means that like mostly what they base their anxiety off of is if they have the competence to do the thing ahead of them. Whereas for us, we're like thinking about all the things that could go wrong relationally, which we don't have control over. And so that would make it easier for us to label it as anxiety.
I like that. I think that, you can't control people and how they're going to respond and all the things.
Just can't.
It's tough out here.
It's tough caring about people. So hard caring about relationships. Fair, actually true. But anyway, especially in today's world, like actually shit's on fire. Yes. So it is kind of tough to care.
It really is. Yeah. And then fucking these bozos, not all bozos, but there's a few bozos on Love Island right now that are...
Yes. Okay. Right. Bringing us to topic. Yeah. Thank you for that. Because yes, indeed, there is some anxiety-provoking content going on there. And like just real heartfelt, sad things. Sad. I feel sad about it.
Yeah.
And like a lot of it is really deeply rooted in misogyny and racism and sexism. And that's awful. So we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
Why don't we just jump right the fuck in with talking about the heart rate challenge?
My favorite challenge. But didn't they used to not do it as couples?
Correct.
I like that better. I really do, because it's more interesting. I think that way.
There were way too many people on that bench.
I think that maybe because of what they did in Casa more, that's a really good point. They had to do it this way because it would have gone on for 3 hours, which I would have watched. I would watch those 3 hours.
Well, they could edit it down. So fuck. But yeah, no, basically historically, and the whole point of this challenge every year is that they hook themselves up to like a reader, their like respond, whatever the fuck it's called, that reads their heart rate. And typically what happens is all the women line up in the back and all of the men sit on the bench, and the women one by one come out and dance in these, provocative outfits. They dance for the men and like kind of get on their lap a little bit. And then each one of them goes one by one. While one of them's going, the rest of them are still in the back, or they go up on the balcony to watch. And then they flip, and the women go sit on the bench, and the men go one by one, and And then they rate who has the highest, who got your heart rate going the highest of all the women. If you're a dude, who got your heart rate going the highest? This year they did them in pairs, so the couple would go up together and perform for the entire group. It wasn't just one gender. And so, in some ways, by the way, that's like more gender inclusive. Like, but at the same time, we know how heteronormative this, so it doesn't really matter. It's still binary. But that, in some ways, I liked it, because in some ways I like the idea that what would happen with it when it was individuals is that like then the other person in a couple would be pissed off at like how that person did when they did it by themselves, and this way they can't really complain about it. But the downside, like we're saying, is like, one, it meant every single fucking person was on that bench, which is way too many people. Number two, there was like no dancing. They basically just like went and sat on people's laps and made out.
Which is fine, but
that is fine. But then it got complicated too, like because then everyone's kissing Sierra, so they don't upset her by kissing Nick. But then and then also a couple, sometimes I like this, that like a couple might grab a third person and bring them out. There's something called like bringing them to the heart, which was new this season, where there was like a heart stand in the middle of the floor where people first come out to as a couple to like do their little thing to start out. And they
somebody call a doctor or whatever.
They have like little one-liners. Who are also very lacking.
Amaya was the only one who was killing it for me. She was great. So much. It was fun to see her just have a great time.
He was a star for this, for sure. It was really great. And then so like a couple might bring a third person out to the heart and like dance on them or whatever. A lot of times what happened was like a couple would bring another couple to the heart stand and then like flip. So like the guy would dance on the girl and the girl would dance on the guy from the other couple. And that happened a lot. So that's relevant to what we're then going to tell you happened. That's the challenge, is what it is. They competed as couples, large cast. Everyone kissed Sierra to avoid Nick. Many couples grabbed another couple to bring them out. Okay, so
Sierra, do you feel like it became the thing where women, if they were like down to kiss women, were like, it was like the cool thing to do. Which I didn't know how to feel about it.
It was a both and. Like at first I thought it was like, okay, anybody who's like, I like kissing girls, but they're like not actually bi, was like, well, I want to kiss Sierra. She's so hot. Everyone says she's a good kisser. We know she's bi because she's openly bi. So there was a part of me that thought that at first. I was like, that's just like annoying at this point. But then it also made me realize like, but they're also doing that so they don't kiss Nick. Like if they're moving around the bench, they could like be with her instead of Nick, and then they don't upset Sierra because they're not with Nick. So I also thought that like maybe she was like the way to like do that couple as a girl, so that you don't piss her off by going with Nick,
which that makes sense from the rules that were implicit but not stated, cause drama.
Exactly. So that could have been to like give them a nice thing, to give them an out. That could have been a part of it. But it did start to feel a little like gimmicky, or like, and then also again sort of like making light of being bi, or like, like making it cheap,
right? Which it's not. It's not. It's not like, oh, we're all just bi. Like it's an identity. It's a way of moving through the world.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. And it's not also just to get men's heart rate up,
right?
Which is like the whole problem.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's it.
Read. Exactly. So not a fan of that part of it. And then the other thing that was sort of interesting was like, how did power couples handle it? And so I'm thinking of the power couples now, and I'd be interested in what you think. But I think of the power couples as Chelly and Ace, and Sierra and Nick.
I agree. I think that Ace and Chelly might stay together because they've gone this far, and what are they going to do now? But there were definitely some riffs this week where I was like, and some moments where he shut down, where I was like, yep. And I think she's probably seeing that and is like, about this guy. Here's the thing, Amaya saw much quicker because maybe of the way she moves through the world,
or the way he treated her so egregiously.
Yes, to be clear, it's not her fault, but because he could maybe be like, oh, you this. She got the bullshit sooner than Chelly got it.
He thinks of himself as so much more powerful than Amaya, like objectively.
Yes.
Whereas with Chelly, he wanted to impress her more. Yeah.
But it still came out.
No, it's so messy. I have so much to say about that.
Can't wait.
Yeah. No, I have major issues with the way that he's handled actually all of the things we're going to talk about today. So
you can fuck right off.
Exactly. So that was of interest, is like how they handled it, both of them. Like Nick and Sierra as a power couple grabbed Iris and TJ and they went and made out with the opposite of that couple, and they were like cutesy together, and like they're kind of like a quad, those four. They're cute. Yeah. And like Sierra very seriously said that if she was going to have a throuble, it would be with Iris. So like that was a very serious, she meant that. Yeah, exactly. It's like they're really stoked on that, which was really cute. So they had like a cute little quad. Ace and Sierra and Chelly went and took Amaya, who comes back into this to play a few times. She's the one who's like young, in life experience, early in life experience, very, but also tons of trauma, Hispanic woman who has been labeled as someone who cries a lot, but just is somebody who has strong emotions. And as a Hispanic woman and Latina woman, she would be more expressive with her emotions than folks who are not. Something that has not been brought up explicitly, that is a fucking problem, because that's just going to come back into it too. Anyway, so they bring her and they like have a 3-way kiss with her, and she's very cute about it and like fun and playful and stuff. Meanwhile, though, Chelly also kisses Chris, who's the guy that she made out with in Casa Amor and was like semi-dating Casa Amor. And then she goes back and kisses him again.
She does.
Meanwhile, Ace is like going through and like making out and dancing on everybody. And so this is like an element that comes back to play into their conversation a little bit later. But the other biggest, perhaps the biggest event that happens during Huda and Chris's turn. So remember, Chris is Chelly's boyfriend from Casa Amor, who came back with Huda because otherwise he would have gone home. So he was with Huda to come, and Huda felt like this was it for Chelly's sake, that she brought Chris, but she also likes Chris. So Huda and he are paired. They went and took, when it was Chris and Huda's turn, they went and took Ace and Chelly and brought them to the heart. And Chris made out with Chelly a third time, and Huda got on top of Ace.
Third time.
That
was a good
Yes. So they are dancing on their respective partners, but then Chris and Chelly get up to sort of like be respectful they're done, and Huda is still on top of Ace. It seems like it went on for much longer than we even saw, because she had a change of position. She was then like reverse cowgirl on him. And there was like a whole other configuration of people around the bench that changed. So suddenly Amaya was standing. When they had to actually stop, we see Amaya's now standing and saying something, which we didn't see. The men have all changed position as well. And then after Huda is done reverse cowgirl dancing on Ace, we then also see the men saying, including Pepe, saying this seems like more than a challenge. And for them to say that, like what we saw, you wouldn't say that about.
Yeah.
So clearly something happened that we didn't see. And so like the men were all remarking to each other, that's clearly more than a challenge. So this is a theme that happens in these challenges. It's just a challenge. You're allowed to make out with whomever. It's just a challenge. It's not just a challenge. We can all just agree. Nothing's just a challenge. No. Like, there are different expectations for challenges, but these are still people's feelings and hearts and mouths and bodies. Right. Boundaries still matter.
Right. And everyone is crossing boundaries. And so then to be like, you cross the boundary too hard is confusing. It's not so clear cut.
No.
And everyone's horned up. Like,
too.
Like, let's be honest, they're having an orgy pretty much. Like, that is an orgy situation. And so, yeah, maybe Huda was like having a good time. Maybe a little more than what Chelly was comfortable with.
Right.
However, to the way that then Chelly treated Huda as like, it felt slut shamey to me. It felt like, and also like, where's Ace's role in this?
Yes.
Like he was enthusiastically enjoying the situation.
Yes.
And so Huda, I think, has been getting mixed messages. She's being told that she should be more fun, more open, more casual. And this is a part of her that is fun. Like she likes to dance. She likes to do all that kind of stuff. And was having
her body.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. And people think she's hot, and she is hot. Yeah. Like she gets attention and respect for that. And like people are like hollering for her, like excited for her usually. Right. And I think in this case, it was like people decided just this one time she went too far with Ace. So like the fallout basically with Chelly in the moment was already clearly pissed off at Huda for how that was going. She tells us in the direct camera, like, she went way too far. I would never have done that with Jeremiah, yada, yada, yada. And so then obviously then the rest of the challenge, Huda's trying to like get eye contact with Chelly to make sure they're cool. And Chelly won't do it. It's like super uncomfortable. Huda's trying to say to Chelly, it's just a challenge, you know, and sort of like, yeah, in the case she's trying to say, like, this is what we all do, right? And that's fair. Yeah. Nothing is just a challenge. To be fair, that's not an okay expression in general, but Huda's point is not that, really. Her point is, like, this didn't mean anything. And I believe that. And I think that Huda is nowhere near a threat to Chelly. So like the bigger issue is that the fact Chelly's so upset with her says more about Chelly feeling like she's a threat, which says more about Ace than it does about Huda.
Yeah.
You know, if you think he can get his head turned by Huda, yeah. So I just feel like there's so many. So I totally agree. I think that Chelly's point, which is that Huda, when she was with Jeremiah for challenges, expected and hoped the other woman wouldn't make out with him during the challenges, and they respected that. And then after they didn't make out with him in a challenge, Huda would say to them, "Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that." By the way, the fact she would even thank them so emphatically says to me she was worried and she feels insecure. Like she is someone who was insecure and worried someone could turn Jeremiah's head if they made out with him during a challenge. That's why she was like that about it. Chelly has never expressed that to anybody or made it seem at all like she was worried or insecure about it. So it is a different expectation right there. And so Chelly's point is like, you set this expectation about Jeremiah. Why can't you respect it when it comes to me? And so I feel like while I understand that in theory, first of all, the expectations set up are different. You both are different women. You are in tons of power, Chelly, in ways that Huda has never been.
Yes.
And then on top of that, you as a human in the world are much more secure than Huda is in the world as a person.
Yes.
And so the idea that like, okay, sure, let's say you're right about your perspective, then how you treat Huda is so unnecessary. Like she is already seen as like the bottom of the barrel in the house. And to treat someone like that when you have all the power repeatedly for hours and days is such a like, to me, shows misuse of power.
I love that because I think initially her feelings, sure, she was in her feelings. That was probably really hard to watch and probably brought up weird stuff for her with the Jeremiah thing.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough to even say, I will wait tomorrow. Yeah. But then it was until that postcard thing or whatever the fuck. And that was relational punishment in a way that was unfair to Huda. In like so many ways,
ostracizing her.
Yeah, that was, I think, where like it's one thing to have feelings, but I think the inability to see the bigger picture and then to like double down so hard was tough to watch.
Yeah. And I think it was sublimation of her anger with Ace.
Yeah.
And she put it all on Huda.
I agree.
And I think even Ace knew that there was a chance Chelly was also upset with him.
Yep.
Because he got into it. And Huda wouldn't have kept going if he wasn't into it. Yep. So he and Zen in a conversation with Chelly after Chelly's been pissed, not talking to Ace or to Huda for like, let's say 12 hours. So I think it's probably less than that. It was like 5 hours. After not talking to either of them, Ace pulls her aside and literally goes like this. He goes, listen, I understand that you might be upset because you think that like I looked like I was into it. I wasn't into it. I just looked like that because it's a challenge. And you know what? I'm upset with Huda too. I don't know what she was doing. She was way over the line. But here's where I'm upset because you went back and kissed Chris twice. So what he did was he took what he figured she was correctly angry with him about, quickly dispelled it as not a him thing, it's a Huda thing. I agree with you. Let's blame her, triangulate it. Let's make it her fault. Yeah. But then here's why I'm mad at you. So now you have to be on the defense and you have to try to fix it with me for my thing because my thing's serious. Your thing, I already addressed that. It doesn't matter. My thing matters. You went back to Chris. And the whole way he treated her, he was so condescending. I was impressed with Chelly for not taking it. Honestly, I think she did a good job sort of being like, huh? Like, really? Yeah. Like, okay. And then just walked away. Yeah. And I think that was good. So like, but the main point is like, he knew he was in the wrong because that's why he was like, here, let me just spell that real quick and make this about you. You're the problem. That is dangerous behavior from a significant other. Not okay.
I think, too, the reason that he was into it with Huda is because he was, for the first time, in a power down position with Chelly because he was kind of laser focused on her and she wanted to keep exploring that other guy.
Yes,
and he didn't like that.
No.
And so I think that was his way of trying to play the game that he plays if I'm not that interested in you. And Huda was just in the moment, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe liked it a little bit. I don't know. Like, whatever.
Yeah. I would go one further to support Huda. If you watch at the beginning of them making out, she's holding Ace's head away from Chelly and Chris. And I actually, in the moment, thought Huda purposely chose Ace and Chelly, so that Chelly could get another chance to make out with Chris. Oh, and if Huda held Ace's head away from her, she could do whatever she wanted, and Ace would be distracted. And I honestly think it was intended that way at first. And then because Ace was showing interest back, he fell off the wagon. Like, she didn't want the rest of the way. She was having fun. She was feeling sexy. He was showing interest, which to Huda would say, okay, he knows Chelly won't be upset because if he's getting into it, we must be good.
We're good here.
Clearly, we're just having fun.
He's a good dancer. She's a good dancer.
Clearly, we're just having fun because otherwise he wouldn't show interest back in me because he'd be worried about Chelly.
Nailed it.
Right? So I honestly think, and like, sure, I get what Chelly's saying that like sometimes Huda hides behind this is for you. And I get that. That is totally fair. Sure. He does do that sometimes. But she does it actually have that intent, I believe. I
No.
believe she starts out with like, this is to help Chelly. And like, yeah, there's a little self-interest in it and she doesn't claim that right away. But like, I do think she thinks she's helping. And in the way that she was purposely holding his head, I just was like, that feels very intentional. Like she's giving Chelly another chance with Chris. It's just that then it went to, and then she just like got into it. And I think it became like a show to her because everyone was just sort of like reacting. And I don't think she realized it was negatively until people were probably like, you're going to stop, right? Like, you know, they probably had to be pretty explicit.
Weird. Yeah. And she took a guy back to the house knowing that he liked Chelly more than her.
And they agreed it was for Chelly. We saw them make an agreement together. So this is the only way he gets to stay is if we have him come back with me.
So like, let's give her some grace here. My goodness.
I know. And that comes up in the next challenge, which we will now talk about maybe. Is there anything else you would say about that? I guess my main like final word on it is like Chelly, where she might have been in the right to a degree. The way she treated Huda was not somebody who has power with grace. Like you have to hold power with grace in a way that like, of course you can have strong reactions and absolutely be upset, even 24 hours. But then to keep, like you said, punishing her, ostracizing her, it just shows like actually more insecurity in your position of power. And it also it gives like mean girl and just like a way that's like, if you have that kind of power, you have a responsibility and you have a responsibility to model for other people how to treat people with kindness. And when Huda is so clearly in the down position, that's treating someone who has no power like dirt. And she already feels like she's the dirt under your shoe. She feels that way already about herself. Yeah. So you don't need to make her feel like that. It just is like, so the way she looked at Huda when Huda tried to talk to her that night, the way she looked at her like, okay, we're done. Like I just was like, oh no, you don't need to do that. She's already so, and like just to address the Huda thing in general, like people are like, she's so not a girl's girl. Like I don't trust her. Da 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 da. Like Huda, as somebody who has not had many friends who are girls, also doesn't know what she's doing. And so like, it's like people are sort of, it's like chicken or egg thing. They're like, of course she doesn't have girlfriends because look how untrustworthy she is. How is she going to learn what that looks like if she hasn't had friends that are girls? It's like
she's a single fucking mother from a very young age.
Exactly.
Like she's got a lot going on.
What she learned was how to keep men's attention, and that was a way of keeping power, which is absolutely something women learn. It's just that was where that stopped, and she didn't quite learn the rest of it, which is like the part that's different. It's just another part of it, and if you don't learn that part, that's where you're stuck. And absolutely, all of us were that girl in middle school, high school, whatever level it was before we learned how to become women's women. Like that just is how it goes. And so she's a little bit stunted in that way. She probably went through a shit ton of trauma. Having a child at young is a trauma. So like the fact we're giving her such a hard time for a thing that she also needs to have to know how to do it.
Right.
Which she's learning from the show. We watch her learning. She's trying. She's absolutely trying.
Oh, I just got chills. That's very true. It's like if you're a woman and you have ever liked men, you know that thing. And she's hopefully going to learn from this and get better and do better.
Right.
But I think Chelly is self-aware enough to maybe, I don't know. I think she knows and she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And she's stuck in her feelings. And maybe she's tired because she's been there a while. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, I think she doesn't trust Ace, which is really what it comes down to. But she can't really hold his feet to the fire because it's not totally his fault. And so she's just sort of like in this like stuck position sort of. Yeah. And I think that makes it tough. And he is so condescending. It's so gross. Like just anyway. So that's sort of the deal on that, I think. Yeah. What a rich challenge, right? Like,
can I say something about Nicolandria? For all my Nicolandria people out there, I have been following the social media so hard because I'm glad to know that I'm part of a community.
Yes, there's a whole group, a whole culture.
Ship, as the kids say. Here's what I think, and I'm going to say it. I think that Alandria is actually not that into Nick.
No.
I do think that Nick is into Alandria.
Yes.
And I think if Alandria that next day when they were talking, if she would have been like, I'm into this, I want to keep going, I think things would have looked different. Yeah. I think he read her and maybe read her when they were going to bed that night and stuff. And it was like, she's still hung up on.
Yeah, she kept coming back to Taylor.
Yeah, the worst guy in the world, by the way. Fuck that guy.
I'm not sure what she's telling him. Yeah.
Yeah, she's... So I think, you know what, I realize they're a mismatch because she is a more serious person than he is.
Yeah.
And that's where the mismatch is.
He's also very, again, young in life experience, early life experience. I think she's had to grow up a lot faster. And like she said, she's had to be tough. She's had to be non-emotional because she's been through a lot of shit and she's had to be the strong one. And he just hasn't had that. Like that's just not, and not to say he hasn't been through racial trauma because he absolutely has, but his need to grow up faster is just not on it. Like, he even said that he's like sort of like feel like a kid with Clark, which by the way, I disagree with Alondra about that. I feel like you can be 40 and be a kid. You know,
absolutely. I agree. Yeah. I think she was
She just was like kind of coming for whatever he said, which is fair.
Yeah.
She was sort of like, whatever you're going to say, I'm going to come. And that's fair because she finally got to, because I think she had been holding it up this whole time. I know. That. Finally let out some of her frustration with him, which is so valid.
It was like, yeah.
Her feelings with him. Yeah.
But because she's been so poised about it. It's like, oh my God, but let's get mad at this guy and stop pursuing him because fuck this guy.
Yeah.
He's not worthy of you.
Exactly.
At all.
And I loved it the way she was like, the feelings have always been about your feelings. So for once, like, fuck your feelings. Or it's always been fuck my feelings. So for once, fuck your feelings. Yes. Tell him.
Go,
I love it.
Girl. I think Nick might have gone for it. I think he likes Sierra. I'm not sure. I think how much love she's getting from the show will make him like her more. But I wonder when he sees this whole Nicolandria ship thing, what it will happen. I don't know. Because I think I don't know, maybe in 10 years he's going to be like, I'm Polly. I can see. Right. I can also see him being a little bi. Like, yeah. Like he gives bi guy energy for me.
Yeah. But he also gives people pleaser. Yeah. What you're hitting on, which is like people liking her is going to make him like her more. He's definitely a people pleaser. Yeah. Like a little bit chameleon-y. I will also say, like, will not stand up for Ace, for example, to Ace, for example, even when he disagrees with him. Yeah. But I was also going to say, I also felt like there was this moment on his date with Sierra where she gave him such a softball and he didn't take it, like lowball, whatever the fuck expression is, where like they were joking. He's like pouring champagne and he goes, oh, this is the date of my dreams. And she goes, oh, she's like, look at us go. And then she goes, are you saying I'm the girl of your dreams? Which is such a great moment for him to be like, of course. Like, all he has to do is that. Like, my husband and I were talking about this, and I know what he would do. He'd be like, of course you are. I always mean that. He would pick up quickly and just like, and we jive about it. And even if it's not, but like, of course he'd mean it. But like, even if he didn't, we would jive, whatever. Yeah. And Nick literally goes, like while pouring. I was like, whoa, that is cold. Like, if I was here, I'd be like, so I'm not. And so we're good here, right? Because like, that just is such a signal. Like, I was thinking at first, I rewatched it because I was like, maybe they spliced it, but they didn't. That was really what was happening in that moment. He literally was like, when she was like, so are you saying I'm the girl of your dreams? And she's being playful. And he didn't even look up at her. And I just was like, I don't know. So to your point, like, does he like her? I did have a moment where I was like, is this for the show? Like, I don't know, like what we're doing here. Because I feel like if he really did care, that was like such a wonderful moment to like show her how much she means, I think he's a bit of a subby sub boy, and I think Landria is kind of gives Dom energy. Yeah. So there's something between them where the chemistry between them was much strong. Yeah. And I think Sierra, beautiful, sexy, amazing, intelligent woman. I don't know. I think she had Dom energy when he first fell for her. Yes. If you think about the day she came out. He was like, you're sexy, amazing, intelligent woman. I know really different. Welcome to our new video titles and everything. Check them out. Like patreon.com/reality test. Check it out. Or you can search in their search bar if you do the @ symbol reality test. All one, no space. You can go to our Instagrams at Dr. K Pods, that's me. At Dr. Ray Pods, that's Dr. Ray. And you can go to our TikTok at Dr.reality REALITV. You can also go to our YouTube and also our Facebook. They're both Reality Test Pod, at Reality Test Pod for YouTube. Reality Test Pod is our page, so there's spaces for Facebook. And you can also email us at realitycheckpodding, PODDING, @gmail.com. And please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. If you can, pay for Patreon, that is amazing. As Dr. K just put forth so articulately, as I just did it right now. It's a lot of work, right? $5 a month. Yes, $5 a month would make a huge difference for us to keep doing this thing that we love. And pay our sound guy. Yeah, and pay our sound guy, who some of you may know. And if that is not something that is feasible for you right now, that is okay. Please rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. If you know someone who is talking about Love Island, be like, oh my God, I know this great podcast. That really helps us to keep doing this because we do have a lot going on and we really enjoy this and want to keep doing it. Yes, we want to keep doing it. And also it's a little unfeasible, but we're trying our best. So thank you. And we adore you and thank you for listening and watching for those who are watching, and we will see you next session.